Inside the crack was a small mountain. Cang Songzi moved like lightning, heading straight for the mountain peak, with the woman in the green robe trailing behind him. Both moved at incredible speed, and in the blink of an eye, they were near the summit. In the middle of the mountain peak, there stood a stone gate about 20 zhang high, etched with a lightning totem. This is where the beast's souls are sealed. Cang Songzi's spiritual sense echoed as his figure flickered, closing in on the stone gate. With a swift motion, he reached into his storage space and retrieved a silver pendant shaped like a bolt of lightning. He tossed it forward, and the pendant flew straight toward the stone gate, its silver light flashing intensely. At the same time, the lightning totem on the gate released silver light, reflecting the pendant's glow. Suddenly, a series of rumbling sounds echoed as the massive stone door trembled and slowly opened. Clouds of dust scattered and filled the air. At the moment the stone gate opened, a series of soul-piercing roars erupted from the cave within. The furious howls and roars of the beast's souls turned into indescribable spiritual waves, spreading wildly in all directions. Daoist Zhao, time is of the essence. You go ahead and retrieve the beast's souls. I'll take a look at that scripture. Cang Songzi said mid-air, cupping his hands toward the woman in the green robe. Daoist Zhao, if you're interested, you can join me. Perhaps there will be some insights to gain, he added with a smile. The woman in the green robe paused for a moment before slowly shaking her head. Cang Songzi didn't press the matter further. His body turned into a streak of light and headed towards the summit. Though he had never been here, the map he had was clear, marking the location of the scripture. The woman in the green robe watched his retreating figure, her gaze flickering. Her brows furrowed. She didn't believe Cang Songzi's words, but everything she saw now seemed flawless, especially the beast's soul fluctuations emanating from the cave. It seemed, as Cang Songzi had said, that it indeed contained the sealed beast's souls. After a brief hesitation, the woman in the green robe arrived at the entrance of the cave, her divine sense scanning inward. Her eyes flickered with a strange light, and after leaving a series of restrictive seals around, she stepped inside. Meanwhile, Cang Songzi had already reached the peak. He glanced down, seeing the woman in the green robe entering the cave, and a cold smile appeared on his face. I didn't lie. There are indeed beast souls sealed here. I'm not afraid of you not entering. Even if you follow me secretly, it won't matter, he muttered to himself before turning his attention back to the task at hand. His right hand suddenly formed a seal, and the stone door at the middle of the mountain trembled with a loud crashing sound before quickly closing shut, sealing itself tightly. Inside, the woman in the green robe's furious shouts and the sound of her incessant strikes could be heard. Cang Songzi knew that time was running out. Once the crack sealed again, escaping would be nearly impossible. He stood at the mountain's peak, took a deep breath, and a look of excitement appeared on his face. He had waited for this day for a long time. Standing there, he raised both hands, slowly kneeling down. His hands reached toward the sky, and strange sounds began to emanate from his mouth. The sounds were eerie, their meaning unclear, but as they echoed, colorful rays of light began to shine from the sky. The rays grew so bright that they pierced through the mist, landing directly on the mountain. The colors circled above Cang Songzi, spiraling around him. After a moment, they transformed into a rainbow bridge, stretching forward into the void. Suppressing his excitement, Cang Songzi rose and stepped onto the rainbow bridge, moving swiftly toward the end. In no time, he reached the end of the bridge, where a vortex formed in the void, surrounded by seven-colored light. Without hesitation, Cang Songzi stepped forward and entered the vortex. Inside the vortex, chaos reigned, filled with a dazzling seven-colored light. The light didn't emanate from the surroundings, but rather from a towering stone tablet in the distance. Encircled by the colorful glow, the stone tablet exuded an immense pressure, as though anyone who approached it would be forced to kneel in reverence. Cang Songzi was no exception. He knelt to the ground, silently reciting something in his heart. Immediately, strange marks began to appear on his body, writhing until they gathered in his eyes, as though sealing them. After a moment, he raised his head and looked at the stone tablet. At the very bottom of the stone tablet, there lay a skeleton. The skeleton was missing its lower half, its arms spread out and nailed to the tablet by seven-colored stone spikes. This was the skeleton of a cultivator. In this world of seven-colored light, amidst the glowing and swirling void, the skeleton remained unchanged, its color dark and ominous. On the pitch-black bones, faintly glowing characters flickered, covering every bone of the skeleton in a dense array. Beneath the skeleton, there was a circular formation several zhang in size. This formation was filled with countless runes, and at its center, directly beneath the broken spine of the half-skeleton, rested a jade vial. Cang Songzi's gaze fixed on the jade vial, and a look of maddening greed appeared in his eyes. He knew that the inscriptions on the skeleton were the Tao scripture, but he had no intention of reading it. Everything up until now was merely a ruse to deceive the elder in blue robes. This scripture will transform you into an inscribed shadow. I am living well, so why would I take the risk of coming in here just to seek death? He licked his lips, for Cang Songzi's true objective was the jade vial beneath the skeleton. At this moment, above the skeleton's half-dismembered spine, dark light flickered as a droplet of black liquid, reminiscent of blood, gradually oozed out. With a soft thud, it fell into the jade vial, producing a light sound. Cang Songzi's body leaned forward, charging at the skeleton, and he instantly found himself close. He raised his right hand to grasp the jade vial. But the moment his hand touched the vial, he instantly trembled, releasing countless wisps of white vapor from his body, which were quickly absorbed by the jade vial. However, Cang Songzi showed no sign of panic, as if he had anticipated this outcome. With a wave of his left hand, a storage dimension appeared beside him, from which countless essence spirits flew out. In a moment, nearly 1,000 essence spirits emerged, all sealed, with fine threads binding them together in a connected chain. As these essence spirits appeared, Cang Songzi uttered an eerie incantation, reaching back with his left hand to grasp one of the essence spirits. Instantly, the essence spirit shook and dispersed, but shortly after, another essence spirit began to tremble. In just 10 breaths of time, nearly 1,000 essence spirits eerily dissipated, transforming into countless white vapors absorbed by the jade vial. At the same time, Cang Songzi bit through his tongue, spitting out a mouthful of blood that formed a swirling mist. Immediately, golden light shot from his mouth, transforming into 4 palm-sized golden light daggers, which all stabbed toward the circular formation outside the jade vial. As they descended, the blood mist merged into the swords, and with a series of loud thuds, the 4 daggers firmly embedded themselves at the 4 directions of the formation. In that instant, Cang Songzi shouted, raising his right hand as he forcefully seized the jade vial and immediately sped backwards. He laughed maniacally as he retreated. With a wave of his left hand, the 4 golden light daggers that had penetrated the formation flew back, not being collected, but instead passing right by him, heading straight into the void of this colorful world. Daoist Zhao, have you seen enough? The void twisted, and the middle-aged beauty in blue robes materialized. She made a gesture with her hands, and immediately countless restriction seals enveloped her, forming a vortex to block the approach of the 4 daggers. However, the 4 golden light daggers were incredibly strange. Upon contact with the restriction vortex, they melted into a stream of golden liquid, piercing through the vortex and rushing toward the blue-robed woman. Her expression changed, and she retreated again, but the golden liquid immediately burst apart, transforming into countless golden raindrops that rushed toward her from all directions. Daoist Zhao, although I do not know how you managed to escape, you should not have followed. This place is where the Tao scripture lies. Observe it well. Cang Songzi laughed wildly, about to step out of this colorful world and return to the mountain along the rainbow. Once he returned to the mountain, he would leave immediately. By then the cracks of the restriction veil outside the mountain would heal, and the beauty in blue robes would be permanently trapped here. She could only abandon her physical form, comprehend the Tao scripture, and remain as an essence spirit ensnared in an inscribed shadow, but by that time, she would essentially be no different from death, doomed to be one among many inscribed shadows here. But just then, a cold hum resounded, and suddenly a figure materialized before Cang Songzi, also clad in blue robes. This figure was none other than the elder in blue robes. Her appearance instantly shrouded the area in an eerie atmosphere, even making Cang Songzi pause for a moment. 2 blue-robed women of the Zhao surname. One appeared to be a beautiful middle-aged woman in her 40s, while the other was an elderly woman with a face full of wrinkles, but they shared an astonishing resemblance. This is not a clone. It is the technique of gathering yang to channel and returning to ancestor. Cang Songzi's expression changed as a lightning bolt of realization flashed through his mind, recalling an extremely ancient, legendary forbidden technique from the Cloud Sea Star domain. This technique was notorious and against the natural order. Moreover, it was notoriously difficult to practice, making successful practitioners exceedingly rare. Yet everything unfolding before him compelled Cang Songzi to believe that someone had actually mastered this forbidden technique to the realm of the 3 ancestors. The so-called gathering yang to channel in meant that a female cultivator, after dual cultivating with another, gives birth to a daughter who grows within her body, using a special divine ability to enable the mother and daughter to share a single essence. Years later, This female cultivator, now one with her daughter, would again dual cultivate with another, giving birth to another daughter, and the three women would merge into one through a unique divine ability. In this manner, their cultivation would skyrocket, and because their souls were unified, their divine senses became extraordinarily powerful. His expression quickly returned to normal as he coldly sneered, his right hand still gripping the jade vial, which could not be placed into the storage dimension, or else he would have kept it safe long ago. Without wasting words on the elder in blue robes, Song, relying on his formidable cultivation, was shocked by the gathering in returning ancestor technique but still confident in his ability to leave the place. At this moment, with a swift grasp of his left hand, golden light flickered. Instantly, thousands upon thousands of flying swords appeared before him. With a single point of his finger, they sped toward the elder in blue robes. At the same time, Song slapped his forehead with his left hand, and immediately, a scarlet light shot out from his heavenly spirit. This crimson light resembled a nascent soul homunculus, but if one looked closely, it was evident that it was no mere nascent soul. The homunculus let out a chilling scream, its blood-red aura swirling as it followed the sword lights, charging toward the elder in blue robes. The elder's expression changed the moment she saw the nascent soul homunculus. She waved her right hand, and an ancient bronze bowl appeared, which she immediately tossed forward. The ancient bronze bowl spun and headed straight for the nascent soul homunculus, but the homunculus's eyes flashed with bloodlight. It let out a shrill shriek capable of tearing apart gold and iron. The sound of explosions echoed as the bronze bowl instantly shattered into countless pieces, scattering. At the same time, the golden flying swords closed in on the elder in blue robes, and the nascent soul-like homunculus weaved through the sword rain, heading straight for her. Time was running out. Song ignored the elder in blue robes, his body flickering as a ripple appeared before him, preparing to step through and leave. But just as he was about to step into the ripple, a dried-up arm suddenly reached out from the void beside him, grabbing for his right hand. "It's at the Four Ancestor Realm." Song's pupil shrank. There was no time to think, and his left hand shot out toward the dried-up arm. But a series of booming sounds echoed through the multicolored world, and Song grunted, his face paling immediately. Peak mid-shattered Nirvana stage. His left arm went numb, turning pitch black, with yellowish fluid oozing out and dripping down. Clearly a powerful poison had taken hold. Using the momentum of the strike, he stepped into the ripple. In the distance, from the void, an even older figure appeared, an elderly woman seemingly crawling out of a coffin. She wore blue robes, her hair completely gone, and her appearance was terrifying. Her eyes glowed faintly, and blood flowed from the corners of her mouth. With a wave of her right hand, she tore apart the golden sword rain left by Song and then grabbed the blood-colored nascent soul, sealing it before charging toward the ripple to pursue him. Song's face turned ashen. He hadn't expected the elder in blue robes to perfectly conceal her cultivation, allowing her to ambush him without him noticing. Especially since her powers were imbued with strange poison, his left arm was being overwhelmed by the toxins, yet he forcefully suppressed them. "As long as I get through this rift, with no time restrictions, and with all my magical treasures, that old woman is no match for me." Just as Song stepped into the ripple, preparing to speed away, the elder in blue robes immediately followed. Their divine abilities clashed in this mountain range, and the sounds of explosions reverberated, shaking the heavens and earth. The rift was nearing its edge, now only 2 yards wide, and its healing speed had increased. Song's eyes flickered as he suddenly began chanting an unusual incantation. The moment the chant emerged, the 7-colored light in the sky flashed fiercely, descending toward the ground. In an instant, it surrounded Song, transforming into 7 different colored swords, each heading straight for the elder in blue robes. The elder's expression darkened. She formed hand seals, and a violet light shield manifested in front of her. As the shield appeared, an ancient aura spread, faint traces of demonic energy emanating from it. The 7-colored light collided with the shield, and a series of violent explosions erupted. The elder spat out blood, but her expression grew even more ferocious. She slapped her forehead, and her body trembled as her nascent soul flew out. As her nascent soul flew out, the elder in blue robes from the stone tablet world and the beautiful woman in blue robes both struck their foreheads. Their nascent souls shot out and quickly merged with the elder in blue robes' nascent soul. In an instant, the 3 nascent souls fused perfectly, forming a long rainbow that shot towards Song. Song's face twisted in fury. Gritting his teeth, he grabbed a jade vial with his swollen left hand, and with his right hand, he waved forward, causing a bead to appear in his palm. Without hesitation, Songzi Song threw the bead, sending it straight toward the fused nascent soul. "Summon, rebel practitioner." Songzi Song roared, and the bead immediately emitted a ghostly glow. In an instant, the seven-colored light in the sky surged, being sucked into the bead. Then, the bead exploded with a thunderous crash, releasing a streak of seven-colored lightning that shot directly toward the elder in blue robe's nascent soul. At the same time, the elder's nascent soul let out a piercing scream as three restriction seals flew out of it. The moment they appeared, the heavens and earth changed color, and even the time barrier trembled. These three restriction seals were among the highest forms within the life and death seal. Life, death, and rebirth. As the divine sense surged, the three seals instantly merged, unleashing a world-shattering force that collided head-on with the rainbow lightning. Boom, boom, boom. The earth quaked and mountains trembled. The mountain peak began to collapse in large sections. Outside, the mist rolled violently backward. Illusory shadows drifting within the fog froze all at once. These inscribed shadows floated toward the source of the thunderous sound. Under the intense impact, the merged essence spirit split apart, each fragment growing more transparent before quickly returning to the body. Songzi Song hadn't expected the restriction seal of that elder in blue robes to hold such overwhelming power. Struck by the blast, his body was hurled backward and he coughed up blood. His left arm had long been poisoned, flesh reduced to yellow fluid, even the bone dissolved. Now, under this impact, his left arm was torn away from his body, vanishing completely. The jade vial was also flung into the air by the shockwave, shooting toward the Wenzhong-wide gap left in the restriction veil. With bloodshot eyes, Songzi Song lunged toward the vial. The elder in blue robes also flickered forward, charging toward the rift. At that very instant, a white figure flashed out with the speed of a cultivator in the late shattered nirvana stage. In a blur, he overtook both the elder and Songzi Song, and in the blink of an eye, snatched the jade vial without the slightest pause, darting through the rift. Just as he emerged, he raised his right hand and struck toward the gap. Instantly, a restriction seal manifested, fusing into the veil. The rift's healing speed surged drastically. "Luzaheo!" Songzi Song was stunned, then roared in fury as he burst through the gap, madly chasing after the fleeing white silhouette. But the moment he stepped beyond the rift, his foot landed on one of the restriction seals Wang Lin had previously laid. Suddenly, thunderous booms echoed as layers of restriction divine abilities flared, forcing Songzi Song to a halt. The elder in blue robes fused her three forms into one and, like lightning, tore through the seals and gave chase toward Wang Lin. After entering the rift earlier, Wang Lin had immediately drawn in his presence, hiding without a trace beside the rift's edge, waiting for his chance. This place was eerie, especially within the restriction veil, where divine sense couldn't stretch far. This limitation gave him the opportunity to remain unnoticed. Now, gripping the jade vial, he sprinted through the mist, weaving swiftly. The strange murmurs echoed incessantly by his ears, and ahead, countless phantoms drifted by, brushing past him. The elder pursued him relentlessly, but after Wang Lin attached two speed runes, his pace became unimaginably fast, widening the gap with each step. "You dare steal from me. You deserve death." The elder's voice was laced with venom as her eyes glinted with malice. She swept her hand forward, and instantly, a wave of poison mist surged forth. In a flash, a colossal poison scorpion apparition, thousands of zhang in size, appeared in the rainbow-lit sky. The scorpion's massive tail whipped through the air, transforming into a blur that shot straight toward Wang Lin. He spun mid-run, eyes gleaming coldly, and threw a punch with his left fist toward the oncoming scorpion tail. A thunderous roar exploded through the air, the tail shuddered and shattered on impact. Just then, Songzi Song caught up. His crimson eyes burning with fury, he pulled a bead from his storage dimension and, despite the pain in his heart, hurled it forward, shouting, "Summon the rebel practitioner." The moment those words left his lips, the rainbow light across the sky surged violently, pouring into the bead. In an instant, it erupted. As it shattered, the entire sky blazed with intense rainbow light. Waves rippled outward, and within them, the radiance condensed rapidly. Suddenly, an enormous finger, born from the condensed rainbow light, took form. One finger of heaven's fate. So this place really is connected to Tian Yunzi. As he ran, Wang Lin's pupils constricted at the sight of the massive finger in the sky. The colossal finger absorbed more than half the sky's rainbow glow, casting everything into shadow. Amidst earth-shattering rumbles, it descended upon Wang Lin, aiming to crush him completely. The elder in blue robes narrowed her eyes. She swiftly formed a hand seal and pointed forward. Instantly, a restriction seal emerged from her forehead and shot out. 3 seals, precisely those highest transformations of the life and death seal from before. Death, life, and rebirth, she rasped. The 3 seals fused instantly, transforming into a stream of deadly restriction chi, imbued with the essence of life and death, and surged toward Wang Lin. With the marks of 2 speed runes on his body, his figure flashed like lightning, streaking forward like a rainbow. Above him, the massive finger condensed from rainbow light roared downward. The distance between it and Wang Lin closed swiftly. Behind him, the elder's 3-part life and death seal pursued relentlessly. Under the combined attack of 2 mid-shattered Nirvana stage grandmasters, Wang Lin's eyes gleamed coldly. Since he dared to snatch from the tiger's mouth, he must have the confidence to fight back. While speeding forward, Wang Lin suddenly turned around. His figure began to expand in an instant, and a thick ancient god aura immediately filled the 7-colored realm. Waves rippled around his body, and in the blink of an eye, he transformed into a towering figure, growing to a height of over 300 zhang, becoming a colossal titan. At the center of his forehead, 5 clear ancient god star marks quickly rotated, and a 6th one faintly appeared. His massive body had rough skin, covered with countless rune-like patterns. Especially his giant form, which radiated an awe-inspiring terror to anyone who saw it with their own eyes. Cang Songzi's pupils shrank sharply. He had never seen such a divine power, and at this moment, his mind trembled. The elder in blue robes also gazed in disbelief, her eyes flashing with shock. Without hesitation, Wang Lin transformed into a true ancient god. As he turned, he looked up at the descending heaven's fate finger and, with a clenched fist, struck directly. This was the true punch of an ancient god, shaking the heavens and earth. Especially now, with Wang Lin embodying the ancient god, his punch carried the overwhelming will to defy the heavens. A deafening roar reverberated, shaking the entire realm. Wang Lin's giant fist collided with the heaven's fate finger, and an indescribable shockwave spread out in all directions, expanding violently with the sound of crashing thunder. The heaven's fate finger in the sky immediately seemed to be hit by a violent wind. Its tip rapidly disintegrated before the naked eye, shattering into countless colorful crystals. The speed of its collapse quickened, and in an instant, the entire finger was destroyed, dissipating into a mist of shimmering light. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. Wang Lin's body trembled. Using the full might of his over 300 zhang form, he leaped forward, crossing vast distances and landing at the foot of the mountain-like range. Without pausing, he slammed his feet into the ground and jumped again, leaping over the mountains ahead. The life and death seal chi quickly chased after him, rapidly closing the gap. Wang Lin stood on the mountain, reached out with his right hand, and immediately a massive crack appeared in front of him, as though tearing apart the 7-colored world itself. With the sound of cracking, a huge black trident emerged from the rift, howling as it appeared. The trident was around 400 zhang long, like a divine weapon meant to pierce the heavens, and its overwhelming pressure spread across the area. The thick ancient god aura surrounded it, and Wang Lin seized the trident, sweeping it across in front of him. 3 black lines cut through the air from its tips, seeming to tear apart the void itself with a hissing sound. Holding the trident, Wang Lin stood atop the mountain like a god, turning to face the approaching life and death chi. With a horizontal sweep, the trident shot forward, aiming directly at the attacking energy. The life and death chi rushed toward him, splitting into 3 streams, about to charge at Wang Lin. But in that instant, as Wang Lin swept his trident, the ancient god power within him surged into the weapon. Immediately, black light flickered from the trident's tip, and it cut through the life and death chi. The earth-shattering roar sounded as the 3 streams of life and death chi were instantly severed. The black light intensified, and the trident's tip transformed into 3 black dragons, roaring and opening their mouths wide to devour the life and death chi. After devouring the energy, the trident trembled, and 3 new marks appeared on its shaft. At this moment, Wang Lin held the trident as if grasping 3 terrifying black dragons. The dragons writhed and roared with furious power, their eyes gleaming with deadly light, glaring directly at Cang Songzi and the elder in blue robes. Wang Lin's cold gaze swept over the 2 pursuers, and his eyes were as chilling as the wind, bringing a bone-piercing coldness to anyone caught in his stare. Heavenly treasure materials are for everyone to claim. What makes you think you can take them from me? Wang Lin's voice echoed, cold and firm. If you continue to chase, you will meet the same fate as this heaven's fate finger and life and death chi. Don't blame me for killing you. Wang Lin turned and swiftly headed off into the distance. This scene caused both Cang Songzi and the elder in blue robes to gasp in shock. This is... Cang Songzi's mind was shaken, and he couldn't calm himself for a long time. Having practiced cultivation for many years, he knew of many body-refining techniques, but he had never seen any technique capable of transforming the body into such a massive form. What shocked him even more was that the giant-like figure felt incredibly real, not an illusion in the slightest. The elder in blue robes looked pale, her eyes fixed on the colossal figure disappearing into the distance. With gritted teeth, she accelerated, chasing after him. Cang Songzi was shocked, but he couldn't accept watching the object he had obtained through thousands of years of preparation, having spent countless magical treasures to acquire it, being taken away right before his eyes. His eyes bloodshot with rage, he chased after the thief again. As he moved forward, his right hand quickly tapped his left shoulder several times, and a brand new left arm manifested, glowing with 7 colors of light. Wang Lin's figure leaped over the mountains without hesitation, his step steady as he moved forward, the rumbling sounds echoing behind him as he arrived at the valley where he had previously set up the restriction seal. With one step forward, he was about to rush ahead. At that very moment, the old woman chasing him revealed a malicious glint in her eyes. She made a hand gesture and pointed at the void outside the valley where she had left her restriction seal. Suddenly, the grass on the ground outside the valley began to wither immediately, turning black and gray as it shot toward the sky, forming a massive vortex that seemed intent on engulfing Wang Lin. Wang Lin grunted in pain as his body slightly faltered on the formation, and with a struggle, he stumbled out of the formation. The black-gray vortex roared behind him, chasing after him. At the same time, the elderly woman in green robes revealed a strange gleam in her eyes, and her speed suddenly increased. She charged down from the mountains, quickly closing in, and stepped into the formation outside the valley. Cang Songzi, who was trailing behind, turned into a long rainbow, speeding toward them. But his gaze flickered, and just as he was about to step into the valley's formation, he hesitated slightly, not fully stepping in. It wasn't that he saw a flaw in the formation, but rather he was being cautious, wary of the elderly woman in green robes. As soon as the elderly woman entered the formation, Wang Lin suddenly turned around, raised his right hand, and pointed forward. Instantly, the black vortex chasing him reversed direction and charged straight toward the elderly woman inside the formation. Immediately, countless beams of light from the restriction seals in the valley flashed and flickered, dazzling and accompanied by thunderous sounds that echoed in the air, creating an overwhelming pressure. Various restriction seal marks appeared from the ground, rapidly surrounding the elderly woman's body. They formed a dense cluster, and at a glance, it seemed as though there were at least tens of thousands of them. These restriction lights flickered, and especially after merging the life and death seal with the annihilation seal, they formed an earth-shattering force. Now activated by Wang Lin, the seal surged forward, wildly crashing toward the elderly woman. Above her, the black-gray vortex covered the area, and in an instant, the place was enveloped in the swirling mass, making it impossible to see clearly. But the sounds of thunderous impacts and the elderly woman's muffled grunts and low growls were clearly audible. In that moment, the earth trembled, and the elderly woman's furious roars grew louder, tinged with flashes of bloodlight. The continuous explosions showed that she was trapped in a life-and-death crisis, unable to escape. Witnessing this scene, Cang Songzi's face changed again. With his mind sharp, he immediately realized that the restriction seals in this place were originally set by the elderly woman in green robes, but now they had been controlled by Wang Lin, turning the situation into a deadly trap, leading them right into it. This person actually masters restriction seals as well. Cang Songzi thought, his eyes locked on the elderly woman, who was fully trapped by the formation. He could clearly sense the power of the restriction seals and took a deep breath, but he didn't give up on seizing the jade vial. The old woman Zhao is trapped. This works out well for me. As long as I kill that guy named Liu, the jade vial will be mine. Once I have it, no one will be able to find me in this area, with my knowledge of this place. A murderous intent flashed in Cang Songzi's eyes, and in an instant, he made up his mind. His body swayed and bypassed the restriction seal at the valley's entrance. With a hand gesture, over 10,000 golden lights appeared around his body and shot toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes glinted coldly. He had been waiting for this moment. He knew that facing 2 mid-shattered Nirvana cultivators would be impossible, but if he could injure or trap one, he could fight the remaining one with full force. Especially Cang Songzi, who had ill intentions since they were on Polystar. Seeing the man's divine abilities approaching, Wang Lin sneered. With a flick of his right hand holding the trident, 3 black dragon heads immediately roared. As the trident swung, the sword rain was instantly reversed and shot toward the sky, keeping away from Wang Lin. Cang Songzi's eyes flashed with a vicious light. Without a word, he grasped the air with his right hand, and immediately, a storage rift appeared in front of him. He reached in and pulled out a flying sword. This sword was entirely crystalline, glowing like water crystal. The moment it appeared, an aura of a next-level nirvana treasure spread throughout the 7-colored realm. Wang Lin's pupils contracted. At that moment, Cang Songzi shouted and flicked the crystal sword. The sword immediately emitted a world-shaking whistle as it shot straight toward Wang Lin. A real battle against a mid-shattered nirvana cultivator made Wang Lin's blood boil. His eyes radiated battle intent, and his body moved forward instead of retreating. With a swing of his right hand holding the trident, the 3 black dragons roared and detached from the trident, charging toward the crystal sword to devour it. More bizarrely, the 3 marks on the trident from devouring the life and death seals suddenly flashed and merged with the 3 black dragons, causing the surrounding area within 1,000 yards to fill with the aura of the life and death seals. This was the true divine ability of the trident. Unfortunately, it was a pity that Tu Simo failed to divert his attention, causing this item to be lost in the passage of time. After Tian Yunzi obtained it, he could unleash its power, but he couldn't activate its devouring divine ability. To activate its true power, only an ancient god could do so. Although Wang Lin's cultivation couldn't compare to Tian Yunzi's, he was an ancient god. Especially after going through the first decay and second tribulation, his body, blood, and bones were completely reformed, becoming a true member of the ancient god lineage. Thus, in his hands, the trident could unleash its devouring divine ability. The 3 black dragons formed from the trident were the dragons of devouring. The life and death seal was swallowed by them, and at this moment, it became part of the trident's divine ability. It surged out, merging with the black dragons as they roared toward the crystal sword, a treasure obtained by Songzi. The crystal sword was one of the most powerful items Songzi had acquired. He now drew it out with the intent of swiftly slaying Wang Lin. The sword howled, releasing an earth-shattering sword energy that seemed as if it could tear the heavens and earth apart. The black dragons, in a flash, approached the crystal sword, but with resounding booms, all 3 devouring dragons immediately opened their mouths wide and completely swallowed the sword. At the same time, the 3 black dragons trembled, and one of them let out a thunderous roar. Although it struggled and howled, it did not collapse. It quickly returned to Wang Lin, joining the other 2 heads and transforming back into the trident. Faint crystal light flickered on the trident, and the imprint of the crystal sword slowly appeared on its surface. Songzi's expression changed, but he immediately stepped forward. With his right hand forming a seal, he pointed ahead. In an instant, lights flashed, and sword energy appeared, spreading across the heavens and earth, heading straight for Wang Lin. Then, he reached into his storage rift and grabbed 3 beads, throwing them forward as he shouted, "Summon, Rebel Practitioner." Rainbow light once again gathered in the heavens, rushing into the 3 beads. The sound of explosions echoed, and one of the beads instantly shattered. As it shattered, a blurry figure appeared in the sky, its face indistinct, yet a powerful sword aura enveloped the heavens. The figure raised its right hand and pointed at Wang Lin. With a single point, the surrounding rainbow light rapidly coiled and transformed into a rainbow sword energy that could shatter the heavens, rushing toward Wang Lin. Then, the second bead exploded, and the earth trembled. A mountain-like peak nearby suddenly cracked apart, and a stone giant, around 100 feet tall, emerged from the mountainside. The ground shook as it stepped forward, its body covered in rainbow light, charging toward Wang Lin. At this moment, the 3rd bead exploded, and rainbow light crazily gathered in the sky, transforming into a massive spinning wheel. The wheel was illusory, spinning rapidly as an overwhelming force enveloped the area. With killing intent in the air, Songzi was willing to use up all 3 beads, clearly intent on swiftly killing Wang Lin here. He also formed another seal with his right hand and pressed it to his forehead. His complexion turned blood red, and from his brow, a stream of blood light shot out. Inside this blood light, there was a figure resembling a nascent soul, identical to the one that had attacked Elder Zhao previously. The nascent soul let out a chilling shriek and, within the spreading blood light, charged toward Wang Lin, its face twisted with an indescribable ferocity. All of this happened in an instant. Just as the trident returned to Wang Lin's side, Songzi's killing move arrived. Having reached the peak mid-shattered nirvana stage, his profound energy blended with his divine abilities and magical artifacts, making his attack incredibly powerful. Wang Lin's expression remained calm, his eyes filled with battle intent. He swung the trident forward, sending it whistling toward the massive compass in the sky. To him, this was the greatest threat. Immediately, he formed another seal with his right hand, pointing forward. The rainbow light surrounding the heavens and earth was suddenly covered by a black wind. The black wind surged, roaring as it swept through the skies. Several black dragons roared out, not scattering, but instead converging together, heading straight for the blurry figure casting the rainbow sword energy in the sky. After summoning the wind, Wang Lin then summoned the rain. With a wave of his sleeve, drops of crystal-clear rain formed within a radius of several thousand feet, rapidly heading toward the sword energy surging toward him, splitting into ice crystals that enveloped the stone giant. Booms echoed as Wang Lin stepped forward. With his right fist, he struck directly at the incoming rainbow sword energy. The explosion shook the heavens. The rainbow sword energy trembled, its 6 colors collapsing, leaving only a blue light to break free, piercing into Wang Lin's right hand. Wang Lin's body shuddered, immediately feeling a wild energy surge into his body through his arm. With a grunt, he formed another seal with his left hand, pointing at the void in front of him. A beam of light shot out, transforming into the seal of immortals. The seal spun rapidly, and battle spirits shot out from within it. Voidmaster, Xun'er, and Wu Qing all appeared, their faces twisted with fury as they charged toward the approaching bloody nascent soul. In addition, countless battle spirits surged from the restriction seal, flooding the area. Among them were immortals, cultivators from the Luotian star domain, cultivators from the Alliance star domain, and various battle soul illusions, filling the surroundings with a rampant aura. Seeing this, Songzi gasped. Despite having overestimated Wang Lin, he hadn't expected this person to have yet used many of his magical artifacts. The few divine abilities he had already unleashed were enough to make any ordinary cultivator's scalp tingle. Booming sounds echoed through the 7-colored realm as the trident, imbued with black light, rushed toward the enormous compass. Yet, just 7 inches away, it was enveloped by a rainbow-colored lightning, halting its advance. The 3 black dragons on the trident desperately devoured the lightning, slowly closing in. At the same time, the blurry figure hovering in midair began to fade, gradually vanishing under the onslaught of the thunderous roars of the black dragons summoned by the wind summoning art. Further away, a colossal stone giant approached, and as it walked through the raindrops summoned by the rain-calling art, its body was immediately covered in layers of ice. Before it even got close, it had already transformed into a giant ice sculpture. The blood-red figure, resembling a nascent soul, shrieked continuously under the protection of the old monster's battle spirits, but it couldn't escape. What caught Wang Lin's attention was Xun'er's battle spirit. As soon as the spirit appeared, its eyes revealed confusion, and it failed to obey the command to attack, instead staring blankly at the sky. Wang Lin had no time to deal with Xun'er's battle spirit. With a surge of energy, he leaped forward. His enormous hand reached into the void, and countless thunderbolts appeared out of thin air, flashing toward him. It was as if Wang Lin had grasped the lightning itself. The endless lightning condensed into a phantom-long spear. This was the illusory form of the Annihilation Spear. He threw it forward with all his might. The spear cut through everything in its path, heading straight for the enormous compass in the sky. Without pause, Wang Lin moved, his right hand raised as he pressed down fiercely. The gigantic hand immediately tore through the air with a whistling sound. His left hand quickly brought 2 fingers together, and he pressed them onto the back of his right hand. The primordial energy surged through the 7-colored realm, instantly flowing into his right hand. A massive illusory handprint appeared before him, heading straight towards Songzi, who had just descended. Songzi's eyes turned blood red, madness flashing across his face. He bit the tip of his tongue, spitting out a mouthful of blood. With a wave of his right hand, his face contorted into a grimace as 7 nascent souls suddenly manifested above his head. All 7 roared fiercely. In the blink of an eye, a lightning mark materialized in front of Songzi. As soon as the lightning mark appeared, the entire world darkened as if all light had been absorbed by it. With the blood essence of 100 generations, I shall transform the infant, summoning the spirit of the 7th seal formation. Songzi roared. The lightning mark flickered, and in that instant, Wang Lin's handprint descended, heading straight for the lightning mark. Booming sounds rang out as the handprint shattered. In the moment it collapsed, a lightning bolt shot out, speeding toward Wang Lin. Its speed was so fast that Wang Lin had no time to dodge, and the bolt struck him squarely in the chest. With a resounding bang, Wang Lin's body trembled, staggering back several steps. For the first time, blood from the ancient god lineage leaked from the corner of his mouth, but his eyes were filled with murderous rage. Reaching into the air with his right hand, an iron sword materialized. It circled his palm, as if locking onto a target, and shot towards Song below. Song waved his left hand, and a seven-colored nail appeared in his hand, glowing with rainbow light. This nail was identical to the one used to pin the bone engraved with the Tao Sutra in the restriction veil. Die! Song shouted, thrusting the rainbow nail toward the iron sword. The nail carried an unimaginable pressure, even surpassing the power of a secondary nirvana artifact. In an instant, the nail collided with the iron sword, and a cracking sound echoed as the sword broke in two. The rainbow nail pierced through the iron sword, embedding itself into Wang Lin's right shoulder. A wave of excruciating pain hit Wang Lin, causing his body to tremble. At the same time, though the sword was broken, the tip of the blade flickered and shot through Song's chest, piercing his back and sticking into the ground. Song spewed blood, heavily injured. He turned and transformed into a long rainbow, heading straight for the massive mountain ahead. Wang Lin's body shook violently, and the rainbow nail in his right shoulder seemed to pin his nascent soul in place. His vision blurred, and his body rapidly shrank, about to return to a normal human form. Grinding his teeth, he locked his gaze on the fleeing Song, raising his left hand. The soul subjugation seal appeared in his mind, and he slapped forward into the void. The soul subjugation seal materialized out of thin air, and amidst the turmoil of the heavens and earth, a palm print of Chi Tian appeared, roaring towards Song. Just as it neared him, this person unknowingly performed some divine technique, causing his physical body to violently collapse, transforming into a burst of colorful mist. Under the soul subjugation seal, he didn't die. Instead, his essence spirit was wrapped in the seven-colored mist and fled, disappearing in the blink of an eye at the other side of the mountain range. Wang Lin spat out a mouthful of blood. His body returned to its normal state as he stowed away all his magical artifacts, not even glancing at the restriction seal that trapped the elder in blue robes. In the form of a long rainbow, he swiftly departed. Blood poured from his right shoulder, his face pale. His battle with Song had resulted in both of them being severely injured. The massive compass in the sky slowly shifted, chasing after Wang Lin.